All right, the Vietnam War. Well, it was decades ago, of course, but its impact still fresh on the minds of those who fought in it or were impacted by it. In the community of Geneseo in Livingston County, the subject of a book, that community was greatly impacted by this war because many of the people there went off to serve during that war. And a couple of the people in that community actually wrote a book, and it is called Blue Devils in Vietnam. And it tells the story of students at the time, and they were part of Geneseo Central School District, and then they went off to serve their country. Now, with us today are two of the book's authors, Roger Johnson and Tony Gurak.
Welcome, gentlemen. I assume,
Thank you.
Geneseo, I assume they're the Blue Devils.
Indeed, we are. Always will be.
Coming together to put this book together, had a lot of you been in touch over the years, or was this bringing everyone together again?
What had happened is I, for a number of years, had a real desire to document the Vietnam War involving all those young men that we knew and did not know from the Geneseo School District, town of Groveland and Geneseo. I wanted, before we passed, to leave a record of who we were during a troubled time and what we did in Vietnam. And I was able to, I didn't initially know how to do that. But what we did is I happened to have a chance meeting with Amy Griffo Alden, who happened to be the Livingston County Historian. And she said, we want to do that. I encouraged her a little bit. So after she got her calendar all cleared up, we formed a committee to involve Tony, myself, and Jim DeCamp, his co-authors, and Amy as our editor. And after she cleaned her schedule up and got her work done, we dedicated a year, and 2.5 years later, the book was done.
And you say Blue Devils. Can you describe, Tony, what Blue Devils are?
Well, there was the school mascot.
Okay, that makes sense. So the Blue Devils in Vietnam. And did you guys, oh, I love it. You have the mascot in the back. Yeah. Did you guys stick together at all? Did you find you were fighting side by side, any of you, or were you split up during the war?
All different. All different.
And that happened way back in one of the great wars. I'm trying to remember whether it was one or two. They used to keep communities together, but then if there was a very intense battle, communities would be wiped out.
Yeah, that was the thing. We had no idea how many people from the school actually went. Because World War II, everybody went off as a group. They came back as a group. Well, if you're gone for 4 years, I was in the Air Force, I mean, there's a lot of guys could be in for 2 years and come back, and you never know. And that was the hard part, is finding these guys.
That's what I wondered, different branches, different jobs, all a variety here.
Absolutely.
Everything.
And we found out throughout our research, we conducted or put together a survey, and we were shocked to find out that nearly 100 graduates from Geneseo had actually gone to the Vietnam, into the Vietnam War or the Vietnam area during that war.
Well, we actually are still finding some.
Yeah.
What a gift this must be for that community now. I'm especially thinking about that, you know, young man in 8th grade right now, maybe reading about this, and to be able to connect to what he's reading on the page, looking out, seeing the neighbors and the men he looks up to in his community. Do you know if the school's going to be incorporating any of this, or
They are.
Boy Scouts perhaps?
They are. Schools, high school, college professor is now going to teach this, and he wants all the students to have one of these books.
That is great.
It's been very well received in the community. Very well received.
Wow.
What do you think about that? Because a lot of people who served in Vietnam, they tell stories of not being treated very well when they came back. It was a different era.
True.
Have you noticed a change?
Oh, yeah. They've
Very
finally
much.
been able to separate the war from the warrior. You may not agree with the war, but
And that was,
honor the warriors.
that's right. And that was one of the horrific things that happened. Not only did we have to deal with having fought in a foreign country, but to come home and not be able to reach out to somebody to, if you were having a difficult time, or have an opportunity to discuss what you saw and what you felt from a political standpoint. You did not know who to speak to, because so many people had really drawn us to be as much an enemy as the Viet Cong were to us. It was difficult.
We're running out of time, but for folks who maybe don't live in the Geneseo area, where can they get a copy?
You can contact the Livingston County Historian
Okay.
or Sundance Books Or Brown's Liquor Store.
Right.
Wow. You guys
Congratulations
yeah,
on
you should
your
be proud of your
effort.
achievement.
And thank you
And
for
if
your
we
service.
could reach out and say that we would hope that this will encourage other communities to gather their Vietnam veterans to do
Yes.
the same sort of work.
Great idea.
That's great.
Before
Great
it's too
message,
late
Roger.
to get the
Tony,
stories out.
thank you so much. Really
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
We'll be back.